Some OG Modern Warfare 2 players may remember the days of J-tagged Xbox 360s where some modders would hop in and pull out the old Golden Desert Eagle, which was already a gun that was really popular in the Call of Duty 4 days. Yeah, this gun was fully programmed into the game and found in the game's files despite not being available in the game without modding itself. Matter of fact, there's a lot of secrets and hidden things in Call of Duty games that weren't intended for players to find out about. Welcome to Rocket Sloth. Let's go ahead and take a closer look here. Okay, real quick, July 1st, this new waifu cup comes out. Use code RocketSloth, they sell out super quickly and they never come back. 3 p.m. EST, use code RocketSloth. I'm not going to waste your time with the real ad. In Modern Warfare 2, on the level Contingency, where Price launches the sub missiles, players were originally supposed to enter the sub with Price and help him clear it out. This part of the level was later cut, and instead players defend the area while Price goes in alone. This one was discovered by Alpha Archive, a great game preservationist channel. Make sure you guys go check out that channel and subscribe for just all types of archived content. Interestingly enough, the interior to this sub and general concept would end up getting reused in Modern Warfare 3. Despite being in Call of Duty 4, in Modern Warfare 2, the G36C was not featured in the game, though it completely is accessible with modding. It had icons for create a class and attachments for it, and because of this, it was likely cut late in development, but the gun was brought back in Modern Warfare 3. There were even more weapons that had old leftover assets for, and in some cases even new assets that still originated from Call of Duty 4, but were cut before the retail release of Modern Warfare 2 that can still be found in the game files. Along with that, there's references to a lot of maps that aren't included in Modern Warfare 2, many of them being maps from Call of Duty 4, which could just be leftover code, but some are interesting to point out. There's various nighttime versions of some Call of Duty 4 maps, and even some maps that were cut from Call of Duty 4 altogether that still have strings of code associated with them found in Modern Warfare 2. Designer and scripter Alexander Roycewicz actually hid his name in a couple of the maps that he worked on, and these can actually be difficult to find because they're typically out of bounds and in places that aren't normally accessible, but if you mod the game and go into no clip mode, you can find them in various locations. They even have the year that the map was worked on. There were other maps that have never been seen before found in the Modern Warfare 2 files as well. Some of them have loading screen art associated with them, but are unable to be loaded, and while in some cases fans are able to speculate what the area would have looked like for instance Gulag and Oil Rig have been repurposed from the campaign to be multiplayer maps in PC mods of the game, and we actually did an entire video on cut multiplayer maps years ago. It is cool to get an idea of what some of these maps may have been that got cut later in development. Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 both had cut multiplayer modes that were either fully working or at the very least had audio lines recorded for the potential game mode. For instance, Modern Warfare 2 had Global Thermal Nuclear War, which modders with J-tagged Xbox would sometimes host lobbies of back in the day, and Modern Warfare 3 had some game type that would have been called Grinder, which has all of these voice lines recorded for them.
Grinder. Hardcore grinder.
Grinder. Hardcore grinder.
Grinder. Hardcore grinder.
Though, based off of the descriptions we hear in these voice lines, some speculate that the game mode was later renamed to Drop Zone. Modern Warfare 3 randomly has this image of developers in the game files along with this image from the first Call of Duty game years later. Call of Duty 4 has a ton of assets from Call of Duty 2 left over within its game codes, along with a lot of cut maps that never actually made it into COD 4. For instance, this map called Dusk would have been a remake of Call of Duty 2's map Dawnville, and it also appears that Favela and Invasion were intended for DLC maps but ended up not getting used and later would be repurposed when Modern Warfare 2 released. In Call of Duty Black Ops 1, there was a chainsaw weapon for zombies mode that was worked on but never saw the light of day. Also, it appears that the flamethrower from Call of Duty World at War was left in the files for Black Ops 1 with some scripted lines suggesting it was going to be usable in zombies mode. Considering how popular this weapon was in the World at War days, surprisingly enough, this weapon did end up getting cut from the final release of the game. In Black Ops, there is a map that can be reconstructed through modding called Airbase, and it was obviously cut before it was finished, but it is interesting to see a map that never fully made it into retail copies, but still has this much code for it in the game. In Call of Duty World at War, there's certain cut game modes that never made it into the game, like Survival and Tank Warfare. These actually have some audio lines for them and a ton of scripted text lines for what these game types would have been like.
Tank war! We got ourselves a new tank! We have captured the enemy tank.
Also in World at War, there's strings of code suggesting that selective fire may have been an option for certain weapons, and this actually even appeared in the official strategy guide for World at War, meaning that it was likely cut really late in development. And since modded controllers were so rampant back in the World at War online days anyways, it probably didn't matter all that much that it did get cut. There also was an extra cut kill streak from each military faction with voice recordings for them.
B-17 acquired.
Katyusha rockets acquired. Kamikaze acquired. Carpet bomb acquired.
There's also a ton of cut voice lines for features that never made it into zombie mode. There's probably enough for an entire video just to cover, but things like an ammo perk machine, traps like a guillotine, and even player-controlled zombies have varying levels of accessibility with modding and a lot of strings of code that have been left behind. It appears that a lot of different Call of Duty games had extended or planned tutorials that ended up getting scrapped before the retail release. Call of Duty 4's tutorial was originally much longer and is still accessible partially with mods, and it appears that World at War would have had a tutorial level as well. Besides just a training mission, there were planned levels in Call of Duty World at War that were cut early on, such as a flying mission, which would have connected right into the first mission of World at War. There was also planned sections for a Holland storyline that there are screenshots that exist of these cut levels, though they never made it into the final release of the game. In Call of Duty Black Ops, the level 5 was originally going to have hellhounds, and there's even voice recordings found in the game files for the 4 characters that are from the level 5 talking about not liking dogs and other little shouts about the hellhounds. The PlayStation 2 version of Call of Duty World at War, called Final Fronts, is in a sense kind of just a reskin of a game called Delta Force Black Hawk Down. This is because Rebellion developments were tasked at making a COD game, and due to hardware restrictions ended up reusing the same engine used in Delta Force. This game would release alongside the mainline World at War release. However, while this game is completely unrelated to the same story that World at War had, you can go into the game files and find some unused content from the 2003 game Black Hawk Down, despite the fact that this game came out 5 years later. Also, despite the fact this PS2 version of the game doesn't have any online play, there is still a list of bannable words, which most likely would have been used in online play for Delta Force, but it's interesting to find the string of bannable words in the code. The strictness of some of these banned words are interesting though. I mean, most of them make sense, but some words aren't really that bad depending on the context, like beaver, bite, screw, stab, and tool are all bannable words here. Modern Warfare 2019 definitely has a lot of things that are found in the files that are left over from other games, which makes us wonder if a lot of things were possible and considered for this game that never ended up actually happening. First of all, there's a ton of old assets that are found from Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and there's even a couple of little things from Call of Duty Ghosts all the way back from 2013, references to Extinction Mode and Aliens, which makes us wonder if that was ever a consideration, something that maybe they thought about bringing back for Modern Warfare 2019 that never ended up actually happening. In Call of Duty Black Ops, there was a cut multiplayer map called War Museum, which would have been a remake of the castle level from World at War with strings that are still intact found in the game files. There was also several World at War game types and playlists that were going to be brought back into Call of Duty Black Ops that were not included as well, such as the boot camp game mode for players under the level 15, along with a veteran mode for players who are at higher levels, and the specific game type war mode was supposed to come back as well, though it did end up getting cut alongside these other playlists. Also in Call of Duty Black Ops, Moon has a lot of references and files referring to the level as Zombies Paris. This is because the map was originally built at one point in an earlier version of it as a Paris map for Call of Duty World at War, alongside 3 other zombie maps that were supposed to be included in World at War, but were cut because of a time concern of zombies content releasing close to Modern Warfare 2's release. These would be moved over to Call of Duty Black Ops and expanded upon and evolved, and eventually Zombies Paris became the level Moon. Despite the fact that third-person mode only appeared in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3, there are strings of code suggesting that third-person mode exists in the same engine as Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. And because of this, players have been able to enable the mode through basic modding, and the mode seems to pretty much work the same way. It's just not enabled for players to use. For whatever reason, a lot of people often forget that Modern Warfare Remastered is even a game, but there are some interesting weapons that are found in the game files that never actually made their way into the game. For instance, the Galil appears in the game files and uses the Black Ops 3 model of the weapon and is fully usable with modding tools, meaning that the gun was likely cut late in development. Other weapons also reappear, like the PP-2000 from Modern Warfare 2, the Striker, and an unmounted M240, much like the one in Modern Warfare 2. Actually, if you want to zero in on the M240 a bit more, interestingly enough, this weapon was used in a ton of promotional material for Modern Warfare 3, despite the fact that the weapon never actually was usable in the release build of the game. But yeah, there was promotional material for this weapon out there. Interestingly enough, the MAC-10, a weapon that was included in Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, was a weapon that was cut from the original Modern Warfare, but did appear in the DS version of Modern Warfare. But yeah, at one point it was intended for the original Call of Duty 4 release on the 360 and PS3 and PC, but it never ended up actually happening. In Call of Duty Warzone, there's been data mining done where players have been able to find images of operators that either never released, which are interesting enough to see, but also early images of operators that the picture for them or the portrait would end up getting replaced before their actual introduction into the game, which is interesting because some of these look incredibly weird, like this early version of Ghost. In the original Call of Duty game, some of the missions are played through the Red Army's perspective, and at one point your commanding officer Makarov tells you you will be reporting to Zubov from there on out, and there's sound files in Call of Duty 2 suggesting that this character Zubov was originally intended to return for Call of Duty 2, though it was cut out for unknown reasons. There's a handful of cut missions that were originally intended for Call of Duty 4's campaign that ended up not making their way into the final release of the game. Now, a lot of these cut missions do have text strings referencing these levels in the game files that did see retail releases. However, some earlier leaked alpha footage, much like a lot of the stuff we looked at in this video, essentially builds of the game from different time periods during development that leaked online, would have some of these levels still intact, meaning that players who had access to these builds were able to recompile the levels and see what these levels would have looked like. For instance, while the retail release of Call of Duty 4 only has some references to a mission called School, we can see what this level would have looked like in Call of Duty 4 because a alpha build of the game from earlier in development did eventually leak online that had the files for the level School. Back in 2017, there was a bit of an arms race when it came to the Battle Royale genre. Not only was PUBG blowing up, but Fortnite had just come out, and it seemed like Call of Duty was inevitably planning on trying to get its foot in the door as quickly as possible. Now in 2017, Call of Duty Online, a Chinese online Call of Duty service that had a bunch of like the best maps and weapons from all of the Call of Duty games. It was only available in Asian territories, or if you had a VPN, you could connect with really high ping. But even in 2017, that game threw together a Battle Royale mode quickly, trying to capitalize on the game type hype. Now, interestingly enough, in Call of Duty World War II, the same Call of Duty game that released in 2017, there were eventually text files and reference strings to a mode called Battle Royale, though nothing ever actually ended up coming from this, where instead, a year later, when Call of Duty Black Ops 4 would release, Blackout mode, the first official Call of Duty foray into a Battle Royale, would release. However, it is possible that Sledgehammer Games was tasked with maybe repurposing sections of their game into a potential Battle Royale to see how it would do, and there's a lot of speculation that the headquarters area could have been a part of a larger Battle Royale map. However, since World War II didn't do that well after its launch, it's possible that Activision wanted to come in with a fresh start and go all in on a full-fledged Battle Royale and went with making the Blackout mode instead. This actually leads into a really interesting situation because when the pivot to focus on a Battle Royale mode for Call of Duty Black Ops 4 was decided, a lot of Black Ops 4 content ended up getting cut because of Treyarch's need to reallocate staff members to work on the new project. Now, the information we have on all of the cut content from Call of Duty Black Ops 4 comes from a variety of different sources. Some of them are news outlets that talked directly with some of the developers on what was originally planned for the game. Others are leaked builds that would surface online. And then there are file remnants of some of this stuff about Black Ops 4's cut game still in retail copies of the game itself. Now, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 released as the first Call of Duty game not to have a traditional campaign mode, but it originally was supposed to have a mode called Career Mode, which would have been put in the game as the replacement for the campaign experience. It would have been more of a narrative-driven experience where it would have players in a co-op session with an interesting 2v2 multiplayer mechanic. It was really interesting. It would have been kind of like a hybrid of gunfight mode from Modern Warfare 2019 mixed in with a campaign with a story where you would play against real players still. You had to choose between one of two different factions, the Free People's Army or the World United Nations, and then you could also switch your faction playing as some rogue double agent type thing in the story, which essentially which team you stayed with or you made loyal to would dictate the outcome of the narrative. Apparently this was worked on with a full playable demo by the end of 2017, but after some play testing and negative feedback, the plan for this whole thing ended up getting converted into a more traditional campaign. However, with not a whole lot of time left, this ended up getting scrapped as well with the push that Activision and Treyarch had to get Blackout mode up and running. Still, there's a lot of concept art and screenshots from this cut game mode that is really interesting to take a look at. Also, you may remember with Call of Duty World War II, War Mode was a big feature that was hyped up as it was this bigger than life battle experience, really just something to try to compete with Battlefield. There was work to bring this game mode over to Black Ops 4, and there are remnants in the files of 3 maps that were supposedly planned for the War Mode in Black Ops 4 called Valencia, Shipbreakers, and Glacier Dam. Now when it comes to the multiplayer side of Black Ops 4, there's a ton of things that ended up getting cut out of the game, specifically specialist abilities, equipment, and weapons. It could be an entire video, the amount of things that were cut out, and maybe something we'll look into one day down the road, because Black Ops 4 is just a really wild game with an interesting development history. In Call of Duty Infinite Warfare on Zombies in Spaceland, a super underrated zombies map if you haven't actually played this zombies map, in the game's code, there's a few weapons that have a second level associated code name if you were to pack-a-punch the weapon another time, labeled PAP2. This could possibly suggest that at some point there were plans to allow you to pack-a-punch your weapons more than once, or at least 2 times in Call of Duty Infinite Warfare's zombie mode. However, this was removed from the game. In Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, it appears that there were several different kill streaks that were considered to be earnable at around 600 points. Attack dogs, which would have sent out dogs much like in other Call of Duty games, a local security network threat detection system, which would have also been earned at 600 points, may have likely revealed the location of enemies, maybe very clearly, and apparently something that is called a Super Suit Exo, which would have applied for your entire team. It's also referred to as recovery occasionally in code, still also worth 600 points. There's also quite a few weapons that are left over from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, with files referencing weapons that obviously aren't a part of the Advanced Warfare arsenal, like the RPG-7, the FAD, a riot shield, an M9, an MP7, and an M160. Oh yeah, and the Modern Warfare 3 Javelin. Advanced Warfare was also one of the Call of Duty games that got criticized pretty heavily for introducing loot boxes that would contain better weapon variants than the base weapon variants that you could unlock. And while the ASM-1 was already known for being overpowered, and then also having one of the most overpowered weapon variants for it, there's a reference in the code to a weapon variant called the Juggernaut, which is a cut ASM-1 variant, which does make us wonder if they had made an even stronger version of that gun that they deemed was too strong already than the ASM-1s that were already in the game. It's kind of wild to think about. Modern Warfare 2019 actually had a ton of multiplayer maps referenced in game files that no longer exist. One has strings called Invasion, which a lot of people wonder if it's the Modern Warfare 2 map Invasion. There's a handful of gunfight maps that never saw the light of day, and also a Piccadilly Day map that never saw the light of day either. There's also strings for a map called Oasis, which could have been a reference to the Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer map by the same name, or maybe it was the same map Oasis that ended up in Call of Duty Vanguard. In Call of Duty Vanguard, the multiplayer map has the console codename MP Oasis version 3, so maybe it is possible that this map was just held off on and later used in Vanguard, considering the similarities in the game's engines. In Call of Duty Mobile, in the Elite Squad trailer, the shipment is from Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, but that ended up getting scrapped. Later on, an original shipment version exclusive to Call of Duty Mobile was planned, but that also ended up getting scrapped. With the full release to the game, the image of the map preview on the menu and the minimap can be found in the game files, but it wouldn't be until later on when a shipment remake of Call of Duty World War II, Shipment 1944, would be released in Season 9's Conquest update, and then the shipment remake that was in Call of Duty Modern Warfare was released in the Season 2 Day of Reckoning update. Man, Call of Duty Mobile is just a really confusing place. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoy the content we make here, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. Double check, give it a chance. If you change your mind, you can unsubscribe later, but you might like the content we put out, so make sure you are subscribed with those notifications on. That's it for today. We'll see you all next time with a brand new video.